at the most 100 years on this planet. So if in that time we can go around not harming many and actually even be helpful to some, then your life was meaningful. You see, and even if you're not well and you need help, you become very, very meaningful because people can touch their compassion. And we can make very deep connections. When we make connection out of compassion, it becomes very significant and it has a different flavor than if you go around and people are always well. The connection becomes much stronger, and much more, I don't know the word, much more meaningful, much more, I don't know how to say. People I was able to help, I'm so grateful to them because they give me this good feeling about myself. And they show me when I'm well and they are not well, they show me that I should appreciate my situation and not go complaining about small things. And then I can let go. They show me also, this could be me. But it is not. So then instead of being afraid that I get in that state, I can start to appreciate that I can be of help. Yeah? So this is what I mean. This is how we use every situation. So when, what most of the people, what they suffer from is, I'm so useless. They're not useless. Because we can open up our heart towards these people. We can help them, then it makes us feel good. Show them compassion, and compassion is a beautiful mind. Yeah? So that would be, in Buddhist terms, a meaningful life would mean you work on the qualities of the right side, and you work getting them. And getting them is kind of not so nice. Actually, they're already there, but they are covered by the left side. These ones, we don't have to develop them. Or we seemingly need to develop them because we're not in touch with them. But what is the problem is on the left side. And on the left side, we don't want to suppress them. But we need to study them. We need to know antidotes. We need to become friends with them. Like Mingyu Rinpoche. How many of you know Mingyu Rinpoche? Well, there's somebody who knows him personally who's done a retreat with him, isn't it? Leora? Yeah. Is he inspiring? Sometimes with the body we can express better than with words. Sometimes with the face we can express better than with words. So we should start to learn to have a good body language where we express. So Leora, you didn't see her, she was going, yeah. So Mingyu Rinpoche was kind of, he had panic attacks when he was young. When he was a child. So his father is Organ Tulku, is a great, great, great Lama. So he asked him if he should, you can see it on YouTube, it's really nice, what to do and if he should start meditating. He was afraid that he would say no, saying too young, but he said yes, he was very happy. So he was sitting, meditating, trying to get rid of the panic. But of course that didn't work because then the panic got stronger and stronger and stronger. And so then his father said, wow, because he went to see his father, he said, it doesn't work. He said, well, what are you doing? Well, I'm kind of meditating because I don't want to panic. So his father said, you have to be friends with your panic. So then he said the next step was, I became friends with my panic, but in order to want it to go away. We accept things because we want them to go away, because we have noticed if I accept, it goes. But then it's not acceptance anymore, and then it doesn't work. So then he said, then again, when he see his father, and he saw that I am being friends with my panic attacks because I want them to go away. And then with time, I think he went into a 3-year retreat, and in that retreat, he really became friends with his panic by saying, hello, panic, how are you? And just relaxing into it and all this. And then he said, and then you know what? This panic stopped being my friend, and it didn't come back. What a bad friend, this panic. Yeah. So this is what we do with negative emotions. Yeah. Not embrace them, no, because then you don't let them go. But like a friend, welcome. Would you like a cup of tea? Let me tell you what's going on with you. Yeah? Like that. Not pushing them away, studying them. Being careful, being mindful, being aware, not acting out. Then that would mean a meaningful life. A meaningful life also using it to kind of develop compassion and wisdom. The compassion we already talked about, but also the wisdom. Things appear in a certain way, but they don't exist the way that they appear. You know, what I think is reality and truth is just like a dream or like an illusion. It's just I perceive my senses perceive something, then it reflects something in my mind, and I get stuck with the reflection, thinking that it's true. We'll talk about this more. It's found is greatly meaningful and is difficult to find again, because in order to have this kind of situation that we have, that we call precious human rebirth, we'll try to go into it a little bit, like what it is and what it is not. It has causes, and one of these causes is having been a totally ethical person in a past life. Meaning, having been a harmless person in a past life is one of the causes. We have it in the front, don't worry, you don't need to write it down. It's written there, because that's difficult. It's difficult to be ethical. Another cause for this precious human rebirth is generosity and making aspirations to meet that path again. Because otherwise in the next life we don't remember, and then we just go off. So this is why we constantly make prayers. In all my rebirths, may I always remember my previous lives, so that I can continue and not get distracted with all this stuff. And we make, also aspirations. In all my lives, may I always be in contact with the magnificent Dharma, finding perfect teachers, accomplish the 2 stages of the path, and quickly attain the state of Ajadara, meaning to become a Buddha. To see what prevents me from being awakened and what is this path in order to fully awaken. Yeah? So that's meaningful, and to have the conditions to do that is very difficult to create the causes to get these conditions. Okay? Greatly meaningful and difficult to find again, because we don't know where we're going next life. Please bless me to generate the mind that unceasingly, day and night, takes its essence. So that means you can't sleep anymore when it says day and night takes its essence? No, it doesn't mean that. It means that you go to sleep with a good intention, like we said last night. For example, may I see my dreams as dreams? May I recognize the nature of my mind? Because it's easier to recognize it while you're sleeping. When you sleep, it's easier to see what the mind can produce when you understand that you're dreaming than when you're alive. So this is why, may I recognize my dreams as dreams. Yeah? And there's great books on that, especially from the Kagyu teachers about, the 6 bardos, the bardo of living, the bardo of dreaming, the bardo of meditation, the bardo of rebirth, becoming, and the bardo of death. So, in all these different states, we try to understand that everything that happens, or I think is happening, is just a reflection of my mind. And you're not becoming careless by saying, then nothing matters. Yeah? But you're less tense. You're less kind of, this is the way it is. Okay, so this afternoon we'll talk about it will not last. Now you go to page 4. And there you have, if you have these 8 freedoms and 10 endowments, then you have what is called a precious human rebirth. You might notice that some of these you might not have yet, so you know that you have to develop them. You might also notice some of them, if you have them, it's very difficult to practice. So therefore, then you're not putting too much pressure on yourself also. So, but when you notice that you have it, then instead of being guilty of not using it properly, what we Westerners do, How many Westerners do you know that say, oh, well, I have such a good life, but I'm really depressed. And you see that they feel guilty about being depressed. Have you ever felt guilty about being in a good situation when you see somebody being in a bad situation? Never? Of course. That's really helpful, isn't it? It really helps the poor person when I feel guilty. But our stupid ego thinks it's enough to feel guilty. Instead of rejoicing that you are in such a good situation, saying, wow, maybe I can help this person. Maybe I can share my wealth. Give him 1 shekel out of my, I don't know how many thousands you have in the bank. And then feel very great. But at least that, at least 1. Don't underestimate the power of 1 shekel. It's much better than to give nothing. Yeah. But then also don't get too proud about it. Okay? You see, it's this person, not this one here, that you can be here now without having any financial worries that you're not working these days, is thanks to you having practiced generosity. You can only practice generosity when people need something. Otherwise, it's not generosity. Okay? So it is this person that you give money to now creates your future good bank account. And, of course, enlightenment, if you're a Buddhist. See, when somebody needs something from you, they allow you to practice generosity. And then you turn the whole thing around. It's not, wow, I'm giving something. Like, wow, thank you for making me or for allowing me to feel compassion and practice generosity or whatever. Yeah? How did we get to that? This was not meant. Some of these conditions, you might have, you might not have. Please don't push too hard. But when we have them, instead of feeling guilty, it's such a big Mahayana syndrome, to feel guilty, I don't practice enough. It's so stupid. Learn to be happy that you don't practice enough, so you get rid of that stupid guilty mind. And don't worry, it will not make you lazy. It will make you happy, and then you can practice. Don't be so afraid of thinking, I'm a good person, I'm whatever, and to be happy. Don't be afraid to be happy. It's not helping the world when you're depressed. It's not helping anybody. It's just the ego that thinks, oh, then I don't have to do anything. Yeah? Okay, so the 8 freedoms are being born in a different dimension, in a different state. Now, I don't know, did we take out the Wheel of Life? Yes or no? We didn't. Wheel of Life, we didn't. We can take it out and hang it on the lamp out there, because it's usually at the entrance of the temple. So you will see pictures of these different states, different dimensions. Some we can't see, some we can see. Now, that's very difficult for Westerners to accept that, so you don't have to accept it, because they talk about, we could have been born, at the moment there are beings who are hell beings, like reborn in hell, which means incredibly hot, incredibly cold, excruciating pain, 24 hours a day. We have occasional hells, don't we? Even in a human body. If you burn in a house, if you burn in a car, if you're lost in the Antarctic because you wanted to go make a trip there and then, you get lost, or even it doesn't need to be the Antarctic, in Switzerland, you go on a mountain trip, you go on a glacier or whatever, and you kind of break your leg, that's an occasional hell. And I tell you, I don't think it's very pleasant. I don't think you will be kind of starting to meditate, or, without being a practitioner, thinking, okay, time of death is near now. Some people do. Some people do it spontaneously when they gave up struggling. And it's amazing, because I have friends, they got lost in the mountains. And they're not spiritual practitioners, but they have given up all hopes. And she said, and we all became very calm. And then they found us. The moment we stop struggling, death is not the enemy. If you think that death is your enemy, then you lose the battle, because he will win, he or she. That one part. It doesn't mean we bring it forward. But it means we start to, I noticed the talk this afternoon, I have to kind of, sorry. You know, I get kind of distracted all the time. There's so many things to say. So you don't have to accept hell beings, hungry ghosts. These two dimensions you don't have to accept, but we can see if we would be born in Syria, or at the moment in Syria, on the border to Turkey, being Kurdish, that's hell. Having nobody to help you. You're injured from a bomb, there is no more hospitals, there is no electricity, there is no medicine like that. That is hell. So, you know, sitting quietly and meditating and watching your breath, would we be able to do that? If you think yes, tomorrow morning, Yael will put the needle in your leg, just to see if you can sit still just with a needle, a small thing. And then having the illusion that you could sit still and meditate on your breath with a big injury. What? You know, we wouldn't be there. The mind would be only wanting to get rid of that pain. Then, of course, if you're a very good practitioner, you would stop struggling and then you would meditate. You would be able to meditate on the pain. But if you already now, you move all the time, you know, you won't be able to meditate on big pain. Yeah? So even now, small pains, we also take as examples to be able to breathe into it, give it space, and all this. Yeah, small pains. But then when it becomes unbearable, then you move. But first you use it. Yeah? Hungry ghost means never ever having enough to eat, nor having enough to drink. Holocaust. I'm not saying it's a total hindrance, okay? Because people in the Holocaust have become beautiful people. But most of them continue to suffer even though it was finished. Even though they had to eat, they had to drink, the Nazis were not there anymore. Yeah? It had become, they carry it with them. You know, who am I to talk about this? Because you know examples like this better than I do. I only know the good ones because I find them so inspiring. There was this piano-playing lady also who was over 100 years old. What was her name? There was a movie, a documentary called Dancing Under the Gallows. She was in the Auschwitz orchestra because she was such a good musician, that's why she survived. The joy of life she had. I mean, find her on the internet somewhere. Look at these people. That she was still, you know, she had fingers like this. She was still playing the piano and she was so full of joy in life. I can't remember her name. I'll find out. Don't worry. Jewish, Holocaust, Auschwitz. You know. What saved her life was her skill to play, to be a musician. But the life not finished after that. Now this is what the Tibetans do with this training. All of them, not just occasional examples. All the old Tibetans who were tortured by the Chinese army, they don't suffer from it anymore when they're out. Yeah? The young ones who don't have that training, they suffer. Because the young ones, they don't have these instructions anymore. But the old ones, when the Chinese army invaded, they were practicing these things. Yeah? So then it worked. But if you don't practice this while you are well, it will not work when you're not well. Yeah? Okay. But it's great not to be born in Syria, isn't it? Even if, you know, if you would be from Europe, you would also say, Israel? No, thank you, I don't want to go there. But you can always, there's always something that is worse, not worse. You know. Okay, for you it would be Syria. It's great not to be in Africa and have children with bellies like this and necks like that and full of flies everywhere. Not to be a parent, a mother or father of such a child where you can't help. And you, for you also, totally skinny. Isn't it wonderful? Not to be born there. Yeah. Then it's great not to be an animal. You know, some people say, oh, I want to be a dolphin, I want to be a cat. I mean, the cats is a good thing. In Europe, people, you know, because in Europe, all the cats, at least in Switzerland, they're house cats. You make them sleep in your bed, you go to the supermarket, you buy exactly the right food for your cat. There is like more food for cats than for human beings sometimes. Also in Israel, you have whole shops who are just for pets. Yeah? So I want to be such a cat. Well, maybe you are such a cat, but maybe you're a cat like here. Life is not too bad, but it's also not so great. This little one who wants to come in, we don't let her in day after day after day. She's just sitting there and we don't let her in. And we can say, look, no, sorry, go somewhere else. We love you, but you can't come in because of the food that we have. They don't understand. And these are just not suffering animals. Ooh, now we go to the other extreme. Factory animal, like being bred and raised to serve for food. Not even totally kind of dead when they already cut you apart. Living under appalling conditions. I mean, try to live one day in a cow shed in the summer. You say, oh, I don't have the same body. Or try to just see if you eat meat. Go to these places, see what these animals are going through, please. Yeah? Like I go to an absorb sometimes, the turkeys are there. Then we go in the middle of the night and we recite mantras for them. So at least maybe they have a little recourse. They don't have any space. Their whole life. And then, have you seen the trucks? Where they are in these little cages? Have you ever seen it? Yes or no? Yeah. Okay. So there's full trucks where they get transported to another. They're still alive. Because then they don't have to cool them down when they're dead, okay? That's why it's cheaper to transport them. They're in a cage like this. How do you think they get into that cage? Voluntarily? Walking in? They're being taken by the legs and by the wings and rushed into that cage. Please stop eating meat. Please. There's a very nice thing from Matthew Ricard where it says, be kind to the animals, don't eat them. Write it down. Every time you feel like eating meat, be kind to the animals, don't eat them. And by raising these animals in such a way and eating it, how can you be happy eating meat that comes from such unhappy animals? How? You have to be really kind of totally shutting down your heart if you eat it. Yeah? I know I'm going a bit extreme, but and also we destroy the environment because of that. This we know. CO2 emissions from the beef and from the cows. Yeah? So it's not only the suffering of the animals. One thing, we don't need it. Second is we destroy the environment because of it. We make so many beings suffer because of our attachment to meat. Yeah? So, and you might be reborn as an animal in one of these factories. Yeah. A long-living God. This is the other extreme. The long-living gods, there are other dimensions where it's incredibly good, like Switzerland. I'll take it into the human world, okay, so it becomes more. People who are accepting hell beings, hungry ghosts and all this, you meditate on that. The Swiss group, the non-living group, they decided to meditate a year, every day, on the lower states. I didn't suggest it to them, because usually when I start talking about these things, one Lama told me, don't go on about these things, that these different dimensions, because people don't believe it anyway, and then they start throwing stones at you. But, taking it into the human world, it's okay, but the suffering of a hell being is much worse than the suffering of somebody in Syria, because the people in Syria, it can stop and they can go, whereas the suffering of a hell being only stops at the time of death. Okay. Long-living God is when your situation is too good and you have absolutely no interest in practicing. Like people in Switzerland, all my schoolmates, they go like, yeah, it's very nice what you're doing, but I don't need that. It's a big hindrance to develop your mind when you think you don't need it. It's two hindrances. No self-confidence and thinking that you don't need it. Then spiritual path, impossible. And this is when your life is too good. And then they start having interest when it starts to fall apart, but then it might be too late. So this is why we want to practice now. But it is never too late. It is just late. but it's never too late to start. We have to be free from being born with wrong views. We'll come to that. No, actually, I can mention it. Wrong views is not believing that your mind is pure, not believing that you can develop your mind through these on that side. Yeah, that would be a big wrong view. Saying, "Oh, that's the way I am." Not believing in law of cause and effect in Buddhist terms, that would be wrong views. Not believing in the qualities of the Buddha. If you are a Buddhist, that would be wrong views. Yeah, but okay. Then, without spiritual teachings, if you live in a place where you're not allowed to have spiritual teachings, like the Chinese didn't allow the Tibetans to have to continue to have their monastery, they kind of destroyed everything, and if somebody was found with a text, boom, prison, torture, like that. Then you can't learn, because in a barbaric place, that would be a place like this, where you cannot practice. And a barbaric place is where the negative emotions are actually celebrated. Germany, the whole world is becoming a barbaric place. This guy who attacked that synagogue, like in the internet, you have people who cheer. Wow, great, well done. And it's not just he hated the Jews, he also hated the Muslims. That's why he said, the Jews and Juden und Kanaken. So that is like, he hates everything that is foreign, so it's not just on Jews, it's on minorities. And people cheer. This is a barbaric place. Yeah? So the place is not so much the place, but the place is where the mind is barbaric. It's also good to be free from being born with limited mental capacities. Okay? So it's 11 o'clock now. I'll take 10 more minutes. Because Yael afterwards, she's going with you. She's going through these. No, you don't need to do all of them, just whatever seems meaningful. We reflect on these things, how it would be not to have these freedoms. And then you come back to your present condition and go, wow, but I'm free from it. Then we start to appreciate it. Not when we take it for granted. So this is how you do it. As if you don't have it. Yeah? With limited mental capacities. You see, if you would have wanted to know about Tibetan Buddhism 70 years ago, you would have had to learn Tibetan first. That is limited mental capacities, not understanding the teachings. Because, for example, the brain is not working properly, or you don't understand the language. You don't have the mental capacities to understand the language. So, already for you, it would be much better if I would speak Hebrew, because hearing that in your own language is so much better. Because words have a lot of limitations, and especially if it's not your language, then even more. Okay, so then we need to tend richnesses, meaning being human, and I don't have to go into that, it's clear. If you want to do prostration, study, meditating, and all this, as a cat, you cannot do that. Being born in a central land with at least fully ordained monks. The Buddha says that if there is no more Sangha, so Sangha in terms of Sangha, ordained Sangha, then the Buddha Dharma will disappear. There's a lot of Western lay teachers, which, this again was in the East. So I don't know if we can take this one-to-one, actually. Because I see a lot of, especially the Vipassana teachers, they were all monks, but in Thailand, the discipline to be a monk is very, very, very strict. And it's sometimes too strict for the body. You just get sick. And they disrobed because they also saw there's no point in that. And so they disrobed but came back as a good training and became lay teachers. Yeah? And they're just as inspiring as uninspiring ordained teachers, by the way. So being an unhappy monk or nun, there's no point. Because, the body can't bear all these hardships. So the Tibetans are much more, because they have the monks' nuns vows, but they also have the bodhisattva vows and the tantric vows, not to damage your body. So this is why sometimes you can see them breaking, for example, the vow of eating in the evening. It's a vow for a monk or nun not to eat in the evening. I break this vow because I couldn't sleep otherwise. For 8